With the release of the live-action Lilo and Stitch, I thought, what the hell, let me read one of those Stitch mangas that I keep seeing. Now, I did go see the movie, not so much because I wanted to, it's more that my husband really wanted to go see it since his brother is staying with us and he likes Stitch. His brother is 19, so we went to watch it while my mother-in-law stayed home while watching the baby because she did not want to go to the movies. Now, I didn't care to watch this movie. I actually didn't want to go see it. The trailer, the reviews I had seen, none of it made me want to watch it. I went into this movie expecting to hate it. I really did, but it really wasn't that bad. Don't get me wrong. It was not a good movie, but it wasn't the worst live-action remake by far. Without getting into spoilers here, some scenes did follow the original movie, but a lot was changed and not for the better. Some things were added and some things were taken away. Elements of the original movie are there, same characters, same situations, but this is a different movie. The way things progress is different, character arcs are different, the ending is changed as well, and in my own opinion, the message felt like it was changed too. It felt less about family, about Ohana, and more about personal responsibility. They did keep some parts the same, almost quoting the movie word for word, and I actually liked those scenes better when they made them their own. Just to give an example of what I mean, and I guess this would be a little spoilers here, when Lilo and Nani are fighting in the beginning, most of it is dialogue from the original movie, and it just felt like they were reading off a script. The next scene, when they make up, they used original dialogue for that, and it worked so much better and just felt more natural. It's like when they used the lines from the original movie, it was familiar, we had heard it before, but we had heard it done better. When they made it their own, it still kept the feel of it, and it worked a lot better. The pacing was also not the greatest at parts. Not even 5 minutes into the movie, I was already like, this is gonna be a rough watch, but to be fair, it wasn't that bad. I do think that this is a good streaming movie. I would watch it again when it comes to Disney Plus, but it would be something I just put on in the background and tune into for a scene here or there. It was almost $70 for 3 people to go see it. It's not worth that personally. Before I get into spoilers, I will also say they did modernize the movie. I know that some people do not like when they do this, so I just wanted to point that out. What I mean is, for instance, when she tells David that Nani likes his butt and fancy hair because she read her diary, now in the live action, that is because she read her text. Things like that are what I mean. I'll talk more about movie spoilers here, focusing on the changes, so if you don't want to be spoiled, skip to here. It's not going to be all negative, but I will admit I did hate about 90% of the changes. Let's start with a positive. There were added characters, and one that was very prominent was a neighbor to Lilo and Nani. She was a great addition. Her character didn't feel unnecessary, which is what I was expecting when we first saw her, but she worked really well. She fit really well with the story. For a negative, a character that did feel unnecessary was the social worker replacement for Cobra Bubbles. Honestly, the whole change for Cobra Bubbles, the CIA thing, it was just not needed. It was basically dropped halfway through the movie as well. Instead, they had Nani's original voice actress play the social worker, which, is totally fine to have her in the movie. But then Cobra Bubbles does go undercover as a social worker director, like halfway through the movie to get closer to Stitch, and the whole CIA stuff kind of just came to a stop at that point. In the original movie, Cobra Bubbles does say that he's the one that's called when things go wrong, so since the CIA stuff kind of came to a standstill and wasn't really contributing to the plot anymore, it would have made more sense to just start with one social worker, then the case gets passed to Cobra Bubbles. Another issue I had with this change, and maybe I'm alone in this, but I did ask my husband about it. He loved the movie, and all of my criticisms, he was just like, I liked it. Anyway, I asked him his opinion on this, and he said he could agree with it, that he did feel that way too, but in the animated film, when Cobra Bubbles was the social worker, you could sympathize a bit more with him, you understood his perspective. It just felt like he cared a bit more, so while you didn't want Lilo taken away, you could see why he was doing what he was doing, and it actually felt like he wanted them to succeed and stay together, but he had to do what was best. In the live action, it felt more like the social worker was just doing a job, which I mean she was. She still tried to work with Nani, but it felt more like she couldn't wait to take Lilo away. Anyway, maybe that's just me, but it's how it felt. Another positive, and honestly probably a controversial one, but the change with Pleakley worked just fine to me. Yes, I think it would have been better to keep his original design, where he always disguised himself in feminine clothing, as that was more of his character, but the change wasn't that bad. He was still an Earth enthusiast, and all the outfits he wore were sometimes feminine. They were also colorful and fun. Pleakley, I do think, was done well in the movie. Jumba, on the other hand, oh boy, they really ruined his character. Now, they removed Captain Gantu for whatever reason. The only reason I can guess is just that he didn't translate well to live action, but because of that, Jumba essentially took his place. The fun dynamic between Jumba and Pleakley wasn't there, and he was just awful. It's funny because I do see people saying that he's a twist villain in the movie, but to me, he was a villain from the start. Throughout the movie, I was like, there is no redeeming this character. I want him to be arrested by the Grand Councilwoman. I do not want him staying on Earth with Lilo, Stich, Nani, and Pleakley. I want him gone. I did not like the change with him. Also, they did not keep the story of the ugly duckling here. That was removed, and even Lilo telling Stich the story of her parents and how she lost them was not there. The ugly duckling story I felt was such a strong point of the original. I was disappointed it wasn't here. Lilo also does not take pictures. She was more about keeping the pictures of her parents, which of course is understandable, but she herself no longer had her hobby and love of taking photos. Now, I'll end talking about the movie spoilers with a positive, and I think this is another controversial one. I did like the ending, and I didn't expect to. I was ready to hate it. So, in the original, Nani and Lilo stay together with Stich, Jumba, and Pleakley. Well, here instead, Lilo is taken in by their neighbor while Nani goes to school. I know a lot of people didn't like this, but I actually did enjoy it. I like that they gave more to Nani. In the original movie, many people pointed out that in Nani's room, she has a lot of surfing trophies, indicating that she was really good and gave it up to take care of Lilo. In the live action, they explored that more, even showing that she was accepted to her dream college to follow her goals in marine biology. Early in the movie, I could see that these two had to split in some way, and to me, it did work, and I liked how they handled it. I know many people will disagree with me on that, but I appreciate it, and I thought it was a good direction. Okay, just jumping in here real quick. I am editing this video, so I've had some more time to think about it. And in thinking about it, I think the reason that this ending did work for me is because, like I said, it felt like it focused less on family. Now, Ohana was mentioned here and there, but it didn't feel like the focus, and there were even parts where Nani just brushed it off like it wasn't important. In the animated film, you could really tell that Nani was just really focused on Lilo, really trying hard to make sure that they stayed together. She was so focused on Lilo and making sure that Lilo was okay, but in the live action, Nani was very disregarding of family, but she was trying to keep Lilo, but she wasn't really focused on Lilo like she was in the animated film. For instance, in the animated film, when Lilo goes to Nani to show her Stich and the record playing out of his mouth, Nani doesn't even really look at Lilo or Stich at this point. She is focused on what she is doing, which is being on her phone. And I think looking at the bills, maybe, I'm not too sure, but she just does not give Lilo any attention and is just like, yep, while not looking at her. Nani isn't even the one who takes Lilo to go adopt a dog. That's the neighbor. She still does listen in on Lilo making a wish for a friend, so you think that she is, but that goes nowhere. It's kind of like not even needed because she doesn't take her to go get the dog. Things like this, I think, are why the ending felt fine to me, why I didn't have a problem with it. Lilo and Nani were still close. Nani still obviously cared about Lilo, but that element of family that was really prominent in the animated movie, it just wasn't here. At least that's what I was feeling. There are a lot of criticisms that I'm seeing from people about this decision, and I do think they're all valid. I do agree with some of them. For me, when I'm reading comics and manga or watching movies and TV, I am not looking at the deeper implications that is there. I really don't get into real world mentality. I just take what is presented in what I'm watching or reading, so I am not looking at the deeper implications that a lot of other people are picking up on. Like I said, I do think a lot of the criticism is valid. A lot of people did make the connection between Native Hawaiians and the loss of their land, and Nani having to leave to go to college. For me, I just thought that she was going to a different island for college. I don't even know which college she went to, but thinking about that, it seems like that was always going to be the point, that she was going to leave so that way they could promote the portal gun, probably for toy sales. That's kind of what I'm thinking on that. Anyway, I'm done interrupting. Bye. Like I said, it wasn't a good movie, but it wasn't that bad. Certainly not as bad as the internet is making it out to be. I think the current rating for it is fair. I personally would give it a 6.5 to 7 out of 10. Now, let's talk about manga. The manga I read is Stich and the Samurai. I only read the first volume for now, but this series is complete with 26 chapters in 3 volumes, all available for purchase. And there is a complete collection available for purchase as well. Something I did learn while looking into this series is that the creator and writer of this series unfortunately did pass away not long after finishing it in 2021. I did go into this not expecting much. I was pleasantly surprised by it. I do plan to finish this soon. I just need to buy the next 2 volumes. This is an alternate universe story where Stich still escapes, but instead of landing in a more modern day Hawaii, he ends up in the sengoku-era Japan, coming across a frightening lord leading an army. Stich has his silly hijinks, but surprisingly, the Lord is drawn to him, finding him super adorable. Throughout the first volume, the Lord is trying to catch his attention, and Stich just does not seem interested. The first volume is very cute. The Lord is trying everything he can to win Stich over, showing a different side of himself to Stich while still being terrifying towards his men. There's not really too much to say about this manga. It's almost wholesome, but there are some parts that can be a little dark. The manga opens up with this lord saying to burn down a castle, and his men are like, but there's women and children in there, and he doesn't care. This one was super nice. If you've been curious about it but hesitant because it seems silly, I would certainly recommend giving it a read. It is cute, it's definitely silly, but it's a nice quick read. Anyway, thanks for watching. My name's Bean. Like, comment, subscribe, or not. Check out the description for links to this model and any images used. Okay, bye.